Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. The Eye Test with Pierre, McGuire, and Jimmy Murphy.
The Stanley Cup winning Colorado Avalanche And after 22 years, Raymond Mark!
The sickest NHL podcast. It's gonna be sick.
And welcome to another edition of the Eye Test here in the Sick Podcast Network. Jimmy Murphy here, my co-host Pierre McGuire could be joining us. We're not sure yet, but if not, he will definitely be back tomorrow. We've got two shows we're recording tomorrow. Just confirmed that we'll be recording our on-campus as we do every Thursday morning tomorrow with Michigan head coach Brendan Naurato. So that would be a great interview. Looking forward to that. Obviously, some Montreal Canadiens fans here will want to know about a certain player on the University of Michigan and how he's doing and what the coach thinks of him and his chances at the pro level. And obviously so many other great prospects on Michigan as they head to the Frozen Four next week in Las Vegas. But before that, let's tackle today. And man, there is no shortage of topics. Of course, the big topic still is the firing of general manager Brad Treliving by the Toronto Maple Leafs and the subsequent press conference by Keith Pelley. Look, I know Keith. I'm a fan of him. I like him. He's been good to me. I think he's a good guy. That being said, he's taking a lot of heat right now. And hey, everybody's entitled to their opinion. And he's getting a lot of heat, and he's getting some from fellow NHL teams. Darren Dreger reporting on TSN 690 this morning that the Montreal Canadiens and the Toronto Maple Leafs were extremely unhappy with the fact that Keith Pelley cited the Canadiens and Buffalo Sabres, saying, "Oh, we didn't see that train coming," and also mentioned specific players on each team. You recall that the Canadiens jumped ahead of the Leafs at the draft to draft Hage, a guy that the Leafs supposedly wanted. Hage's name, obviously, not that we've tried to tell you nonstop here that it wasn't going to happen. But Hage's name was obviously mentioned numerous times in trade rumors leading into the 2026 NHL trade deadline. It's just GMs, and specifically Kent Hughes in the past, have gotten in trouble for mentioning other players' names. And that can be viewed, some trying to call on social media right now. Some are accusing Pelley of tampering. I have not got anything back. I put some requests into the league to see how they viewed what he said and if he could be in any trouble in terms of fines or anything. I have not heard anything yet. As far as I see, I have not seen anything across the league. The last I checked was about a half hour ago. So if anyone sees anything different from any of the insiders like Dreger himself or Elliot Friedman or any of them, if they've reported that this is going to go further than this and there could be subsequent discipline to Pelley and the Leafs, let me know, and I will keep an eye open as well. But this situation kind of took a life of its own as the day went on. I tweeted what Dreger said on TSN 690. And after that, it's been a long X tweet, whatever post you want to call it, a long thread of replies and Canadiens Leafs fans going at it underneath my tweet from earlier. It's kind of comical to tell you the truth. But it'd be an interesting situation. So we'll see if anything comes out of that. But I think also the big thing, too, is a lot of names now are being floated around. As you guys know, I write for RG. Our editor and my boss, Sergei Demidov, reported today that John Chayka has emerged as a GM candidate for the Toronto Maple Leafs. In fact, reporting that he interviewed already in February for the job. Well, that's funny. That's like 2 months ago when Brad Treliving was still technically in that job. That was his job. So interesting stuff there from Sergei Demidov. That's on RG Media. I retweeted the story earlier today. You can check it out on my handle at Murphy's Law 74. So lots going on around the Leafs. Remember the fact that Keith Pelley stressed that whoever is hired needs to be data driven. You're going to see a lot of candidate or suggestions or suspected candidates being strong on analytics, right? I think who is the guy? I just saw another one. The Athletic is talking about it here. The guy from Florida there. What the heck's his name? Yeah, Sonny Mehta, who's been the assistant GM in Florida for a while. He's done an amazing job with the analytics department there. He's well respected across the league. Obviously has helped lead the Panthers to 2 Stanley Cups. So that's a name that's going to start floating around out there. So we're going to start hearing a lot of candidates soon, and we will keep tabs on that for you as we go on. If you recall yesterday in my picks for Betway, which I apologize, way off. Just one of those nights, man. What did I tell you as we go down the stretch run? And I should listen to myself. I think I said this about 3 weeks ago. I said, be wary of when teams that are in a playoff spot or in playoff contention, fighting to get into a playoff slot. Be wary when they play teams that are pretty much out of it. Like that are bottom 5 in the conference or bottom 5 in the league. Beware when they play those, because those teams are playing a little more free. They're also playing for spots in the lineup for next year. They might be playing for contracts on the free agent market. They might be playing to survive and stay in the NHL. So there's still a lot on the line for those guys to play for. And we've seen this a lot when it comes to games lately, where a lot of underdogs have been winning over the last 3 weeks. I don't have the percentage. I'm going to talk to my guys from the Ice Guys podcast. I'm sure they'd be able to find that out if they haven't already. But I got a feeling it's at least split in terms of favorites and underdogs winning since, let's say, the trade deadline. It's been something. And that was the case again last night. A lot of upsets. I mean, you had the Bruins upsetting the Stars. Now, that's one. The Bruins are in a playoff spot. And the Bruins are really tough at home. So on paper, it was an upset. You had the Canadiens. Definitely that was an upset. Upsetting the Lightning. I know the Canadiens are on a win streak, but still upsetting the Lightning. And I know there was no Kucherov, but still they got their guys. They beat the Lightning 4-1. The Panthers, though, this is the one I want to get to. What did I say when I was talking about? I said, look, I'm going all in on the Senators tonight against the Florida Panthers. The Panthers basically just, shelved 7 players, said their seasons are over. That's it. We're going to let them rest. It is what it is. And apparently the players that remain did not get the memo. And good on them. Playing for pride. Like, they don't have to play like this. In fact, I'm sure their fans wouldn't mind them slipping into a lottery pick. But the Panthers go out there and they score the first 5 goals of the game. They chase Linus Ullmark, and we'll get to him in a minute. And they end up winning 6-3. So not only did I miss on the first period puck line by the Senators, I missed on the puck line for the whole game as well. I apologize. That came out of nowhere. How about the Penguins? Not that it was an upset. Continue. 5 spot they put up on the Red Wings. So that's 13 goals in the last 2 games in back-to-back nights for the Pittsburgh Penguins against a team fighting for their playoff survival, trying to get back into the playoff race. The Detroit Red Wings, who just keep spiraling. Penguins now have outscored their opponents 13-4 in their last 2 games. And again, that was on back-to-back nights. Just something what the Pittsburgh Penguins are doing right now. Good on them. The Capitals beat the Red Hot Flyers. I thought the Flyers would win there. I apologize. The Hurricanes take care of the Blue Jackets. And how about those Winnipeg Jets? Right back in it. They're there. Don't look now, but the Winnipeg Jets, after they beat the Blackhawks last night, the Winnipeg Jets are 1 point out of a playoff spot. They are tied points-wise with LA. They are behind them, though, in win percentage. LA is at 0.521. Winnipeg is at 0.514. But back to the Ottawa Senators. I figured, given the embarrassing performance by Linus Ullmark and his teammates last night in Florida, and given some of these eggs that they have laid, and also just the bigger topic around Linus Ullmark right now after, he said the other day in the middle of a playoff race, after probably his best game of the season, he didn't feel fit enough to go and left that in the hands of Travis Green. So on that note, let's bring in our Sick Media Ottawa Senators man. He does a great podcast on the Ottawa Senators here on the Sick Podcast Network, and that's Alex Adams. You can also read him at Sportsnet. Joining me here on the eye test on the Sick Podcast Network. Alex, how you doing, my friend?
I'm great. Probably better than the Senators right now, coming back to Ottawa after that game last night in Florida where they just did not show up. And Linus Ullmark was definitely at the center of it, allowing a goal 8 seconds into the game off, just one of those terrible goals that just cannot go in, especially at that time place. I might have questions for you just about the Ullmark experience in Boston, because now I'm living it right now.
Okay, so here's my deal, and you're more than welcome to ask me in a second. But I just want to ask you, what is the temperature like amongst Sens fans right now when it comes to Ullmark? And listen, as we said, with all due respect to mental health, I'm a big advocate of it. I've dealt with it myself. I'm not knocking him for that by any means. Okay, so before people come at me and saying I'm being insensitive here, I want to make that clear. Furthermore, if this is a mental health issue, which to our knowledge, there's been no news that it is, and he hasn't said anything, the team hasn't said anything. But if it is, I would hope that he did what he did before, and I have no problem with that. And go to the team and say, I'm not fit right now to be in these games. And I have no problem with that, because that to me is being a team first guy. You know, whether it's mental health, or whether you have a bad knee or a bad shoulder, or you're playing with a serious injury and you're trying to milk it, you're trying to just really toughen up and be there for your team. That's not the way to go when all is said and done. Usually that doesn't end well. I mean, usually you end up hurting your team. And I think as the years have gone by, we've kind of grown up away from that tough guy mentality to realize, well, maybe the tough guy mentality doesn't help us win in the end. So I have no problem if that's what the case is right now, but we don't know that. I'm just going based on what I know. And I can tell you right now, for him to go and skip out on that game before last night and then lay that stinker in Florida, I think the fan base and the media have every right to be questioning him right now until he gives them or gives all of us an explanation, Alex. I don't know about you.
I completely agree with, I wrote that at Sports, and I said it on my podcast as well. Like, unless something changes and we know it's mental health, and I completely agree. Like, I am the biggest mental health advocate. I'm literally a trained psychotherapist as my side gig. So like, I care about this. At the same time, if it's not, nothing publicly has been stated outside of what he went through leaving the team in January, and he had a sit down with TSN's Claire Hanna to talk about it. Since then, there's been nothing on the record about that. Nothing to indicate that him not playing against Tampa Bay on Saturday was about mental health. So I'm going to presume that it's not. And if it is the case, then, what are you doing? It's the middle of a playoff race. Your team needs you. You just played the two best games of the season for the Senators, and then you skip out on the biggest game of the season and the team loses. It's just a bad look. And then you come back after that rest and you give up a goal like that to begin the game. It just almost speaks it's almost like poetic in a weird way, just how terrible that start was after taking the rest. So yeah, just a horrendous game from him, and the team didn't back him up as well, but they deflated as soon as he struggled to begin the game. And, that's kind of how the game was just because you're down 3-0, 2 bad goals early on, and it's hard not to sag, especially against Florida, who has some talent, especially Matthew Tkachuk, who had a night for himself.
I agree 100%. Look, I wanna just continue. You said you want to talk about. Do we have there he is? There's Pierre McGuire. Hey, Pierre.
I'm listening to both of you.
Great.
Long time
Rick,
no see.
Do you want to chime in and give us your response to what happened with the Ottawa Senators last night and Linus Ullmark?
Yeah, I was really disappointed in Linus. I'm not going to lie. Like, a lot of people have done a lot of heavy lifting for Linus over the last probably 6 to 8 months.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't think that was appropriate. What happened there, boys?
There's a little lag. Yeah,
That's
I know there's
weird.
a little lag.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I hear you fine, Pierre. I think it's on my end. It's just there's a little lag in terms of the video, but we can hear fine.
Okay, I don't. Are you seeing me as well or no?
Yep, I see you.
Okay, I don't see either one of you, but that's okay. I was really disappointed in Linus. I'm not going to lie. I thought that Travis Green handled it really well in Tampa. I don't think Linus handled it very well in Sunrise, Florida last night. Mm-hmm. But he's got company too. There's some other guys. I know they don't have, some pretty important players, but that's when other guys need to step up. And some of the guys, Alex and I have talked about this, Jimmy. There's some guys that need to step up and be better. And so far they haven't done that.
Yeah. And Alex, you were asking me earlier, just, what it was like covering him in Boston. So, I mean, if you have a specific question there, I'm more than happy to answer.
I guess just like it seems like in Ottawa, obviously he had the mental health break, and again, want to reiterate, like, you wish him the best. You hope he's okay. Everything along those lines. It does seem, from my perspective, being around this team the past 2 years, that there's always something up with Linus Ullmark, whether it's on the ice, off the ice. There's something. I don't want to say drama, that might be too strong a word, but there's always something happening. He's kind of always in the center of something. And I'm just curious if that was kind of the case in Boston with him and Swayman, where there was always something happening on the ice, off the ice, etc.
Just based on my experience when I was covering the team, on a daily basis then. And for the most part, there wasn't. It was more towards the end in the 23-24 season. And then he eventually got traded in that off season. Towards the end, there were times where out of the blue, he would kind of be a little flippant, I guess was the word, with the media, when we weren't really asking tough, hard questions or by any means insulting questions. And a lot of us were like, whoa, what was that? And there was this one time it became a big story where he referenced, I forget the quote from Ted Lasso about being a fish in a bowl. Basically, It's about having a short memory. And he kept sort of going back to that, oh, well, I had a bad game. And that started to get old fast, I think, with some of the media and the fans. I didn't really follow up on it. I talked to Pierre off the air about it a couple of times, but I never really wrote about it. But I remember that's sort of when it went a bit south, but it was nothing like we're seeing right now. Like this is different. And I'm just wondering, like I said, if something is wrong again, I hope he can come to the team and say, look, guys, I'm just not good to go.
Yeah.
Because I think that's the best thing to do for him and for the team.
I completely agree. And I don't know what they do this offseason. Like, I haven't spoken to Pierre since the game last night, but I'm curious what you think about his future in Ottawa, because to me, I don't know if you can keep having him with this team. And some of that I don't think is all of his own doing, but he hasn't played well enough on the ice. The team's struggling. He's become a distraction too many times this year, whether he will play, whether he won't, just his own performance that hasn't been good enough. He has been better since he's come back from the leave of absence, but he obviously, everything that transpired in the last 72 100 so hours with him not playing, then playing and struggling, like that became a circus when the Senators were actually in a great spot and he was playing the best hockey. He played unreal last week.
I agree.
And then it just all of a sudden kind of a house of cards falls away. And I just don't know. The way Travis Green talked about it, I can sense the frustration with him and being around Travis. I don't want to speak for him, but I think people in that organization and that team are frustrated with everything that's happened this season. And I think some of it is fair, some of it maybe not. But I just don't know how you go into next year with how talented the group is with Linus Ullmark, unless the next 8 games, and if they make it into the playoffs, maybe he rewrites everything and then we have a completely different story. Maybe we're a prisoner of the moment. But to me, I think unless something dramatic changes, we might be seeing the last couple of games of Linus Ullmark in an Ottawa Senators uniform.
What I'd do as a management team is pretty simple. I'd want to talk to my coaches and do a debrief. Not just one coach. I want all the coaches in the room. It's just me, the general manager, and the coaches. We have about a 45-minute to an hour session, and we knock it out of the park one way or the other. Then I'm bringing in whomever I determine are my leadership core and the guys I want back. I'm going to have a debrief with them. And then I'm going to talk to my trainers, and I have a debrief with them. And then at the end of it, I'm going to make a sound, intelligent, fact-found mission and ideology of how we're going to deal with this. Because this can't fester anymore. I don't care whether they make the playoffs or not this year. This is an issue, and it needs to be fixed. One way or the other, it needs to be fixed.
100%. Totally agree. We mentioned, though, it's not all just on him, right?
No. But that's a lightning rod moment in a season. What he did in Tampa, he chose to do in Tampa. Nobody told me how to do it. He chose to do it.
Yeah, exactly. Now that I think, as you were talking there, Pierre, I also think back, I should have mentioned this as well. You remember Pierre was it 2023 when they had the best regular season ever in the playoffs, when there came a moment, I think it was like game 5, and there was a question as whether Linus was ready to go and if he should start and continue in the series. And then same questions heading into game 6. He played. And of course, they eventually went to Swayman in game 7. That was a big thing. And I remember Montgomery and Linus both referencing the goaltending coach instead of just owning it themselves. So that's definitely an issue too.
And what's interesting, just speaking of goalie coaches, they brought in his goalie coach from Sweden midway through the season, and he's not the goalie coach. So now there's a goalie coach and there's Linus as goalie coach. Like they've done everything to try to kind of make it as best as possible for him, to make him feel as comfortable as possible. And then everything that transpired, as Pierre said, over the weekend and yesterday, like I just don't know what else they can do outside of it. Again, you never know. Things can change on a dime in the NHL. Pierre would know better than anyone. But at the current rate of things and the way it's looking, I just don't understand. I just don't know what you do in terms of moving forward with him. And I think what Pierre said is right. Like Steve Stais, that is going to be the number one. It's going to be Linus Ullmark and then Brady Tkachuk, maybe like a little bit below. But, I think in a lot of ways, figuring out the Linus Ullmark situation will also help you understand how to approach the Brady Tkachuk issue as well. If you get another goaltender, and again, the problem is there's no real good goaltenders out there, but if you get one that's good, or you find a solution into next year, and maybe that is Ullmark, who knows? Call me dubious. I don't think that's the right way to go about it, but who knows? He's also making a lot of money, and I don't know if a certain owner wants to buy that contract out. So they're in a pickle, and it's just funny. Pierre would know as well. Just goaltenders in Ottawa, like it just not a fun time. I don't understand why, outside of Craig Anderson and Patrick Lalime outside of Game 7s, like it's just tough because the team itself, like you guys in Boston, Jeremy Swayman's like unbelievable. I don't think that team's a playoff team without him. No offense. Right. But you swap goalies and it's like the Senators might be the best team in the East. Like if they had great goaltending, they'd be so good. And they've had the worst save percentage in the league all year.
On that note, guys, I mean, I would think you'd agree, but if not, tell me. Would you say, given the goaltending issues, given some of the injury issues they've had on the blue line down the stretch here, and some other things that have gone on, none of this can be pinned on Travis Green right now, right? I mean, I've seen some fans calling for his job, and I'm like, are you guys watching what's going on here? Are you paying attention, or are you just like always blaming on the coach?
Are those the same? Do they come from Philadelphia? The same guys who are ripping Tocchet apart?
That are so quiet right now.
Now they love Tocchet. Tocchet's pretty good.
It goes right to the coach. It's always to the coach.
It's always the coach's fault. That's okay. Coaches know why they get paid big bucks, because they have to take that kind of poop. Yeah. But anyways, it happens. I think he's done a good job. Alex is in the marketplace. I'm not there, but I would tell you right now, hockey fans in Ottawa are sophisticated. They are. They're really sophisticated. Yeah. If they think this is on the coach, then those aren't the fans that I know, because I don't think they're like that.
I don't either.
You can always find someone online, but that's not the sentiment of the fan base. It is goaltending and like what happened after those couple goals just last night with how terrible they played. Like their goalie deflated and then they deflated. Like both.
Well, they got punched in the mouth, right? And sometimes when you get punched in the mouth, you're reeling, you're back, and you're like, how do you get off the mat to fight back? And without some of the guys they need to have, they really don't know. And that's why I bring up Brady. I mean, I don't know if there's a bigger Brady fan than me, but I'm disappointed. I'm not going to lie to you. I mean, if I were working there right now, he and I'd be sitting down and having a chat somewhere.
Pierre, what do you think of what his dad said on his podcast today?
I don't know what his dad said. I apologize. I don't know.
No, it's okay. Him and Matthew Tkachuk were complaining about the ice time of Brady Tkachuk by Travis Green.
That he was playing too much or not enough?
Why play him a lot in a big game? ? And Keith said jokingly, "I'm just carving the coach right now." And then Matthew Kachuk said, why play him more at the Olympics than the regular season? That makes sense. So they're taking a dig at the ice time. And if you look at his ice time is down from years past. And then Keith also said, I'm so disappointed in your team right now. I'm disgusted. So.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's.
Yeah. Anyways, it's just.
He shoots from the hip, right? We know that. So.
And he did that with the Panthers a couple years ago around this time, and they went on that Cinderella run. So maybe he's trying to do the same thing.
I like people that have strong opinions. I do. And I don't mind people that shoot from the hip. I think that's great. But in this case, I don't think it's merited. I don't think it's warranted.
Yeah.
Like, I'm allowed to have an opinion too. I just don't know if it's warranted. But I will say this. Matthew knows how to win. Keith did not win, but he was a hell of a player. I'm just telling you right now, his biggest thing was probably the 96 Canada or the World Cup in 96. He played in a lot of huge international events. He was a heck of a player. I'm just telling you guys, when he was a kid in Boston, I had him in a thing called the Europa Cup, and you knew that guy was going to be a superhero player. You just knew. He was bigger, he was faster, he's passionate. I'll never forget watching him play on a line with Tony Amonte and Sean McEachran at Boston University. I know where all the bodies are buried with Keith, and he was a really good player. Like, he was a really good player. Yeah. So I get it. He's probably frustrated that Ottawa's not doing better. But you know what? So am I. Yeah. I'm frustrated they're not doing better too.
Yep, I'm with you. Well, I hope they can find a way to make it to the playoffs, Alex. And you've got more games to cover as we go on there, but we appreciate you taking the time, my friend. All right.
Hey, Jimmy, this guy runs an amazing show. You should watch it sometime.
I do all the time. There's some guy I know in there too.
I was going to say, you need more Pierre in your life. That's it, Jimmy. Yeah, I definitely do. Anyways, thanks, guys.
All right, appreciate it. Thanks, Alex. Have a good one.
Bye, Alex.
Me here. He does a great job covering the Senators, as Pierre said. Check out his podcast here on the Sick Podcast Network. Pierre, how are you, my friend? Good to see you.
Good. I'm running, man.
I know. How'd the speech go, by the way, last night?
It was good. We had a lot of fun. I was joined by Hobie Baker winner Mark Fusco.
Oh, great.
And we had a really good time. Sold out crowd, and it was the passion for hockey is huge. Everybody wanted to know about the Pittsburgh Penguins and the Montreal Canadiens. It's pretty cool.
There we go.
Down here in Southeastern Conference country, SEC country.
That's great. Well, hey, speaking of Pierre, how about those Penguins and Habs right now? I mean, let's start with the Penguins and we'll close it out with the Habs. 13 goals in their last two games. And they're playing teams they're going head to head with. What's been the difference this week versus last week? Because they've been a little up and down, but now all of a sudden the pucks are flying in.
Well, their defense is so much better. Really good defense leads to better offense. They don't spend a lot of time in their own zone because they're closing the gap so much defensively. They're really tight from hash mark to icing line. They're really tight. They do a good job. And they're transitioning. After they force turnovers, they transition the puck out of the zone really well. They're so fast. So that's again, the team defense is really good right now. And that's on the coach. That's on the players buying in. They're going to miss Carrier. I can tell you. You could see it last night. They're going to miss Carrier. We'll see how long they can last. It's like Ottawa. How bad has Ottawa missed Sanderson, and how bad have they missed Shabbat? And I haven't even talked about Jensen. Like, they have 3 of their top 6 guys out of the lineup.
Yeah. And like we said, Pierre, when Shabbat got hurt, it was such a shame too, because he was just really coming into his own.
He was.
Like, I don't think he was playing better at any other point in the season than he was when he got hurt.
I agree. I totally agree. It's a great point by you, Jimmy. I totally agree.
So about those Canadiens, though, Pierre, look, I know Canadiens fans are getting very excited right now, and they look at the standings and like, wow.
Just tap the brakes.
Exactly. That's what I want to get at.
Tap the brakes. Everything's going in the right direction. Don't lose it. Don't get crazy. It's all good.
Ride it. Yep. Ride the momentum.
Just enjoy what you're doing right now.
Exactly. I look at that and I'm like, this is great for them, but I just hope everybody doesn't get carried away, because I know how that can happen in that city because they love the Canadiens so much. So we'll see what happened there. But you look right now, Pierre, at Caulfield. Yep. And obviously the goals, everything he's doing offensively goes without saying. But to you, what do you like best about what he's learned to do and continues to improve on in the other end?
He's better on the boards. Like, he gets the puck out when he's on the boards now, so that's something he had to learn, which is good. He's a pest on the back check. He's really good on the back check because he wants the puck back. He's improved. I mean, all players get better defensively. That's the one thing. Even the goal scorers get better. But I just think there's a completeness to his game now. There's a pride there. Playing with Suzuki doesn't hurt defensively because he's always got your back. And obviously Slav's gone to another level, Jimmy. He's at a whole other level now. For power forwards in the league, you'd be hard pressed to find 3 that are better than him right now. I mean, he's really, really good.
Yeah. Well, getting very excited. We'll see what happens there with them as we go forward here, Pierre. But let's get to our sponsors right now, and then we'll get to my picks and then the Q&A, because I know everybody's been dying to ask you some questions, Pierre. So let's roll. When we go to Montreal, we tell you, go to Vago Italian.
We do go to Vago.
And we will be doing that hopefully before or after some playoff games in the near future, Pierre, up in Montreal. I'm sensing that could be a very strong possibility, and I'm looking forward to it. Shill it happen. But the reason you want to go there is because they have combined old world classics and new Italian dishes for over 23 years, private dining rooms for any occasion, open Monday to Saturday evenings, and lunch from Tuesday to Friday. They are located at 1336 Green Avenue, Westmount. For reservations, call 514-846-1414. Again, that is 514-846-1414. And of course, our friends over at Betway, where you can still go all the way with Betway and bet those beauties. If you have not joined up yet, go to that QR code right in front of you there, and you can sign up for a new membership. Or if you're not watching, you can go to the website, go to the members section, fill out your details there, and you can sign up to get up to $300 back on your first deposit, even if your first bet loses. You must be 18 plus, always bet responsibly. Terms and conditions apply. And one of those terms is it is not available in Ontario. I got one pick on a 3-game slate tonight in LA, going with the latest one on the docket here. It's a 9:10 Eastern PM start. The St. Louis Blues have been playing great hockey over the last few weeks. Much better, I think, than a lot of people expected, are in LA. LA fighting for a spot there as well. I like this one to go to overtime. Give me the draw. The Blues and the Kings take it an extra frame. Whether it ends in overtime or a shootout, I don't know. But all you need to do is pick it to go to extra time, and you will get plus 310 value. And by the way, I won't throw my friend under the bus, but he's watching. I know you are. If you're going to send me stuff on this day, be sure you fact check. Be sure you double check things, because it's a certain day on the calendar called April Fool's Day. And I'm telling you, 90% of the tweets you see today are April Fool's jokes.
I just sent you something. I'm glad you responded to me, because that was cuckoo crazy that I got. And I was like, What the heck is this? Don't say what it is.
Yeah.
It was hockey related. It wasn't anything bad, but
there's been a lot of that on the internet today. And I'll tell you, Pierre, I was telling our producer Shane, I was telling him, and my friend earlier too, my dad used to love to play those jokes. He was a huge April Fool's guy. He'd get my mother pretty much every year. But I remember it when we got older, and then, when social media started to take a life of its own, he said, don't ever get involved with that because you can get in a lot of trouble. And he's like, I'm talking lawsuits. It's true. Right out there, if you're going to say, oh, so-and-so traded who, or so-and-so got fired, be careful. You can get in a lot of trouble. I know it's funny in the moment, but I've seen it happen. I've seen 2 radio hosts in Boston. Long story, won't get into it, but I saw them actually get visited by the FBI and the police for an April Fool's joke. So just be careful. All right, let's get to the question. What do we got? Simo. Okay, Simo, Pierre and Jimmy, any chance Chris Pronger would slide into the Toronto Maple Leafs president's role? I think he'd be excellent, but not sure he would want to do it.
Yeah, I don't know why he wouldn't, but he loves hockey. He works hard at it. He's one of my old players. He watches a lot of games. What's interesting, though, again, I'm just going to throw it out there. There are a lot of names being thrown into that job. Most of them have no experience. It's amazing how all that now all of a sudden is working out. So we'll see. But I would endorse. If they called me and asked me, would you endorse Chris Pronger? I'd say yes, I would. Yes, I would.
All right. Next question. Goalie Dad 83. Thoughts on Dobish talking to the media after the game? He'd been insulated the last couple of weeks. I think that's just part of this time of year, and I think they're going to be cautious. That's all.
I wouldn't even worry about the media stuff. Just go win the games. And he's playing so well right now.
Yeah.
Judge, let the pictures do the talking. Let his performance do the talking. Eventually he'll talk. I wouldn't read too much into that. I know the fans probably want a little bit more, but I wouldn't read too much into that.
All right. Next question. Renaissance Resistor. Could Suzuki going for the empty net, ending the game rather than going for point milestones be a good leadership decision, putting the team above stats to stop potential complacency?
I watched that same thing. I brought it up to Tony last night. I don't know. I mean, they were all smiling. I don't think it's going to be that big a deal. Could he have passed the puck to Cole? Yeah, he could have. But he didn't. He scored. I get it. Everybody.
People are looking for too many negatives. Just
no, but Renaissance isn't wrong. I mean, it could on some teams it could have been a problem, but I don't think on this one.
Yeah, I think those guys got enough chemistry in there.
They're pretty tight. Tight. If Cole doesn't get to 50, it's because he gets a lot of penalties. He's getting to 50. He's getting.
All right. Next question. Harold Snyder. Realistically, how can Ottawa even have Ullmark around the team after the last few months and especially last night? Got to feel bad for those guys, giving it their all despite the litany of injuries.
Harold, you're not wrong. You're right. That's what we're saying. But that's why if you're going forward, you got to do all the background, have a case compiled, and then say, here's why we're letting him go, or here's why we're keeping him. But you got to do the exercise. You can't just say you're out. You got to do an exercise with it and see where it turns out.
All right. Next question. Bill Van Vago, just curious here, and this is not an insult, but I noticed you are very involved and interested in the NCAA, but not as much as CHL teams. Is it a matter of your geography or your interest level?
No insult taken at all. When I was doing the World Junior and I was living in Canada, I was really involved with CHL teams. I used to go out and run practices for the Kelowna Rockets when Mark Habscheid was their coach. I also ran practices for the Montreal Juniors when Dom Ducharme was actually coaching there. So, yeah, no, I got no issue with major junior hockey. My son was drafted by Blainville-Boisbriand and let him go to training camp. And if the rules would have been like they are now, he would have played in Blainville before going to college. But I did play in college. I did coach in college. I interviewed for a major junior job with the London Knights back in the early 1990s after I left the Hartford Whalers. So, yeah, I'm pretty familiar with major junior hockey, but I'm more involved with the NCAA just because I coached in it for 6 years. I played in it for 4 years, and I broadcast and do consulting for the ECAC. No Canadian league, no Canadian team has asked me to do anything. But I will tell you this, I have helped consult with a group, American group, that wants to buy a major junior team. And I've pushed them into trying to buy one. So, yeah, there's no offense taken, but I just want you to understand the background of where I'm coming from.
All right. Next question. Be right 33. Jimmy and Pierre, why would any hockey person want to be a GM or president of hockey operations for the Leafs? All experts say rebuild, but ownership says retool. Can you convince ownership to rebuild? And if no, what do you do?
Well, if you can't convince them of your vision, you're not going to get the job anyways. Right. Every manager interview, trust me when I tell you, it's about what's your vision, how are you going to fix what's going on here now, how long do you think it will take to get to your vision, who do you want to hire in your front office, who do you want to hire as your coach, how do you view our development program, what's your budgetary constraints, all these different things come into play when you go through a managerial interview. So maybe it's just different semantics, but you may be involved with a total rebuild, but they'll call it a retool. It just depends how you want to phrase it. That's just the semantics of the exercise.
All right, next question. David Robinson, Corpusalo is coming up big lately for the Bruins. I think that's yet another thing to motivate Swayman down the stretch and beyond. Do you agree or disagree? Agree, Dave. Yeah, and he's been great. Credit to him and credit to Bob Essenza too, is what I'd say.
I think the Bruins as a team have been really good.
They really have.
Like, who thought Pavel's – like, I want to know how many people really thought Pavel Zacha was going to do what he's doing.
Yeah, star of the month for the NHL, just named today.
Like, I'm just telling you. I can tell you right now, NHL guys didn't have that. I'm just telling you. No NHL guys had Pavel Zacha doing that.
And every single time they look like they're going to go in a spiral. They don't.
Marco's not getting enough love. Sturm,
Yeah.
Marco Sturm, Steven Spott, Chris Kelly, like those guys, the coaching staff there, goalie Bob Essence, they've done a really nice job.
And I'll give Don Sweeney for some moves he's made as well. I'll tell you this, Pierre. I got reminded by a fan that I knocked the Arvidsson trade when it happened. But yeah, I did. I own those words, and I made a mistake. That's been a find. That's been a great find for the Boston Bruins. He's really stepped up and been a key part of them. All right, next question.
We agree.
Juice, Pierre, what is the most physically demanding playoff series you ever coached during your time in the NHL?
1992, first round, Washington Capitals, Pittsburgh Penguins. We were down 3-1. Everybody was so tight. We went in, we had to win game 5 and 7 on the road. We were able to do it. A lot of work went into that. A lot of coaching work went into it, and a lot of sacrifice from the players. And if you talk to any one of the players that played on that team, they would tell you that once we won that series, we were pretty sure we were going to win the cup. But that Washington took us right to the max. That was really, really intense.
All right, next question. Chris Nosek, everyone wants to talk about Ullmark. What about the crappy play from everyone else leading to games that no goaltender would have won?
Well, I don't know if you were listening to us, C. Nosek, and I apologize. I don't know your first name, so I really apologize. And I'm not, but Jimmy knows, like I just said, I'm disappointed with a lot of guys there.
Yeah.
Like I'm disappointed with some guys there.
Yeah. No, it's
so
not
I
just
didn't just pick the goalie. Like I'm disappointed in the goalie, especially what he did on Saturday. But I'm really disappointed in some of the guys there, especially last night. They got punched in the mouth and they couldn't get up. And when you play in the NHL, whether you're coaching in the league or you're playing in the league or you're working in the league, when you get punched in the mouth, you better know how to get up.
Yeah.
And a lot of guys figured that out. That's why they have long careers. Other guys don't figure it out, and they don't have very long careers.
All right, next question. Jerb76 PK, how is Hayden Papanikis season gone? I know Tease is a stud there, but I don't know this player, Pierre. Do you know?
Yep, I do.
Third, fourth line center with size, grit the Habs need in 3 years.
I think actually he's on to something. So, again, it just comes down to development now, getting strong, getting a little quicker. But, yeah, I think the Canadiens have done such a good job. I know how hard Nicky Bobroff works. I know how hard Marty Lapointe works. All their scouts. Kane's scouting infrastructure is really strong. That is probably on Jeff Gorton and Kent. They had a really solid base coming in, and they've just built on it. So I have a lot of respect for what they've done.
All right, next question. Paul Cormier, congrats for the podcast, guys. Thanks, Paul. You guys are get such great guests. Question: are you pleased with the consistency of refereeing this season? Is it due to how fast the games have gotten?
I'm not pleased with the quality of the officiating. I'm not going to lie about it. I think most people in the league feel the same way. A lot of the best officials have retired. You know, a lot of them are out on injury watch. They got a lot of young guys being force-fed a lot of big games. It's a little too soon for some of them.
Yeah. All right, next question. Tony Montreal, what are you more proud of concerning last night's Habs game? Physicality and pushback they showed, or the good defensive game they played?
I love the good defensive game they played. Nobody is playing on that team is afraid. It's just that you don't want certain guys fighting bigger guys in battle. It's just you just don't want that. You don't want to see. I'll give you an example. You watch Sam Carrick play last night, Jimmy, and you watch Buffalo play, and you see Sam Carrick get hurt fighting Anders Lee. And Anders Lee is a big, physical, athletic kid. And Sam Carrick's a really important part of the Buffalo Sabres now. I don't know how long he's out for, but he got dinged pretty good, and he's going to be out for a while. I don't want any of that stuff to happen to Lane Hudson. I don't want any of that stuff to happen to Cole Caulfield. I don't want any of that stuff to happen to Nick Suzuki. I don't want any of that stuff to happen to Ivan Demidov. So you got to have guys that can push back, because you don't need those guys pushing back. They need to play. Mm-hmm. You know, one of the best things that I ever heard, my son called me up after he turned pro last spring, and he's skating around in one of the pregame skates, and one of the real tough kids on their team went up to him and he said, "Hey, you're a real player. Don't worry about the tough stuff. I got that. You just go play. You don't need to worry about guys trying to intimidate you." And I was like, that's such a nice thing for that guy to do. And this guy was an old pro. Like, he was pushing 30, 31. He'd been around. And he told my son that, and I that's what I want to see happen in Montreal.
Yeah.
That's what I want to see. Like, those guys are real players. I want to see them looked after.
Yep. Agreed 100%. All right, next question. MIF 8989. If you were working for the Canadiens or Sabres, would Keith Pelley's comments bother you?
I would keep the tape. I'd keep the tape, and if needed, I would play it. But you don't win games in the media. You win games on the ice. You can use it to motivate your guys, but I would keep the tape. Yeah.
All right, next question. Maloney, Pierre, this is the craziest Norris race. I like that you still call it the Norris, Mike. I can remember there are at least 8 strong candidates, maybe more. Please list me your 3 finalists only. FYI, I would vote Dahlin, followed closely by Werenski.
Yeah.
What about Schaefer?
So it's such a hard one, but Dahlin is on my page and Werenski is definitely on my page. Then I got to decide, am I going with Quinn Hughes? Am I going with Lane Hudson? Am I going with Cale McGuire? Or am I going with Matthew Schaefer? My third pick is the hardest one because I think the first 2 are mostly obvious to a lot of people. Mostly. Dahlin's been outstanding, by the way, all year. He's been great. The biggest issue he had in Buffalo is they had to figure out what kind of player he's going to be. Now they know what kind of player he's going to be. So,
all right, next question. Gabriel Lamb, was that a bad press conference yesterday by Pelley? I feel like he made things worse.
It was a tough press conference. It was a tough press conference.
I echo Pierre's sentence. Next question.
Can I just say this?
Yeah, go ahead, Pierre.
I have so much respect for Keith Pelley. I've known Keith a very long time, and we've done a lot of really cool things together on the broadcast side of things. And we've won a lot of different awards, and we've done a lot of amazing stuff together. That was a tough press conference. All
right, next question. Ethan Russell. Pierre, do you think UMass can be a top 10 team in college hockey next year with Moose's return and the players coming in? Yeah. I know I brought it up the other day. I don't think Pierre was here, though, Ethan. So good you bring it up again. But how good is Tobias Trable going to be?
I don't know how good he's going to be, but I can tell you one thing. His rep is phenomenal. He's got a big rep. The Taillefer brothers are the ones that I'd really be watching out for. Both those kids are really good. I've watched both of them play a lot in major junior hockey in Quebec. Their father's a police officer in Montreal, and those kids they were really good. One was going to go to Penn State. The other one was always committed to UMass. The one that was going to go to Penn State's now changed his commitment to UMass. So, yeah. I think UMass got a chance. I wasn't counting on Musa going back. The biggest thing now is they got to figure out, Rabel was a big part of their team this year. Mm-hmm. Who's going to be the guy that's going to be able to replace Rabel. And I know they got guys in-house, and I know they got guys coming in, but you got to get to that level.
Yeah, we'll see. But they do have a great recruiting class coming in. All right, next question. Simo, Pierre, and Jimmy, could you see a struggling prospect swap between the Hawks and Tampa Bay in the form of Geeky for Kuczynski? Yeah, Kuczynski's one, Pierre. I don't think his time's long in Chicago. I don't know about you.
That's their fault.
I
remember doing this podcast with you and saying, what the heck are they doing having this kid play in the NHL? He should have been down in the American Hockey League. Yep, they broke him. They broke his spirit. They played him as a kid on a really bad team in Chicago, and they threw him to the wolves. It was silly. It was inexperienced. It was not smart what they did. It was really silly. Yeah. So I don't know what they're going to do with him long term. I have a soft spot in my heart for kids like that because I made the same mistake with Robert Petrovisky, and I'll never forget it.
All right, next question. Juice, Pierre, where does this year's Montreal Canadiens team rank amongst the most fun Canadiens teams you've watched over the last 20 years?
Probably the last 2 have been the most fun, so this one's probably more fun than last year. I love watching this team play. The last 20 years, there wasn't a whole lot to celebrate until the last 2. I know everybody's going to talk about they went to the final. They played Tampa. I'm not going there. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion. That really wasn't the real playoffs. So they won what they had to do, but now they're a real team, and I'm really excited for them.
They still, though, Pierre, the only team east of the Mississippi to win the Wales Trophy. ever. If you have that claim to fame.
For you, Jimmy, that's good. That's
Little
good.
snap there, right?
That's
All
good.
right. Next question. What do we got? Chris Nosek, Pierre, given everything going on with Ullmark, how seriously do you consider the buyout option? The cost would be 17.3 versus the 26 left on the contract. Several good goalies out there.
I'm not sure I go down the buyout route. I'm not sure. It's
That's
dead. It's really tough. Jimmy knows. We talk about this a lot when we're not on the air. The Canadian dollar situation is really hard on these teams. And if Ottawa didn't make the playoffs, the cash call this spring is going to be substantial. It's going to be substantial. So the answer is I don't see them buying them out. I just don't see that.
All right. Next question. David Robinson, Pierre Arvidsson had a hat trick with 2 empty netters. Do you recall Lemieux's hat trick with 2 empty netters? The internet tells me it was March 12th, 1987 versus Quebec.
I don't recall it, and I'll tell you why, David. I was coaching at Babson College. I did not have the luxury of seeing that game on TV. Back then, we did not have the NHL package. It didn't exist. And most teams in Quebec were never showed south of the border unless your team was playing. So where I lived was Boston. So whenever the Bruins played Quebec is when I'd see games from Quebec or Montreal when the Bruins played there, or Toronto. But things have changed since 1987. But I was coaching at Babson College when Mario did that. But I do recall a game in, I want to say, 1991-92 season where I think we won 8-1 or 8-2. And I think Big Mario had a hell of a night. I do recall that night. You have to look it up, but he had a pretty good night that night. I just remember that.
All right, next question. Jerb 76 PK. I know Demidov played in the playoffs last year, but do you think he has learned something from last night's game?
I think he learned a lot every game. I think he just keeps getting better. I just think the kid cares so much. He wants to be great all the time. So I'm excited for him. I just think he really cares about being a good player.
Yeah. By the way, Arpon Basu in The Athletic did a great interview with him this past week. Check it out. It was really good insight as to what Pierre's saying and who he is and what he is as a person and a player. So check it out. Next question. Pablo Barossa, 27. Montreal versus Tampa in round 1 looks like a distinct possibility. Is this a better matchup than Dallas and Minnesota, in your opinion?
Well, the Dallas-Minnesota one's going to be nasty. Yeah. That's going to be really nasty. Montreal-Tampa won't be – I don't think it'll be as nasty, but it'll be faster.
Yeah.
Montreal-Tampa will be much
high-end
faster.
skill.
Yeah, it'll be 2 different kinds of series, but it'll be faster. Montreal-Tampa.
All right. Next question. Sugar Show. Pierre, do you have any info on Zurovsky?
Amazing talent, unbelievable skill. I've talked to some people that are closely affiliated with the KHL, and he's a really good player, really talented. Montreal definitely got a special player there down the road. He's not coming now, but he's going to be a good player.
They've got
really
a lot of good things coming there.
Yeah.
All right. Big thanks to Adams for joining us here on the podcast. Thanks to Shane working the boards. Thanks to all of you for your great questions and everyone watching and listening. And Pierre, great to see you again, my friend. I'm looking forward to telling them.
Before you sign off, Jimmy, I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for filling in for me for all these shows. Just so everybody knows, I haven't been ditching the show. Jimmy knows it's not like I haven't been working. I've been working pretty good. I've just had some pretty substantial things I've had to do for different situations in hockey. Jimmy knows, and I'm really grateful for Jimmy stepping in there and helping me out. So thanks a lot, Jimmy. I really appreciate everything.
I appreciate that, Pierre. Teammates. And I love doing it. All right, everybody, we will talk. I was telling everybody we are going to interview Brandon Norado tomorrow, the head coach of Michigan, for On Campus, which will air then on Friday. And then tomorrow, live show at 4:00, working on a guest for that. I'll try and confirm it in the morning. I will post it once I do. All right. Until then,
if you get a chance, I did this amazing. I wasn't amazing. He was. I did this interview with Lou Lamoriello earlier this week. That's online now.
Okay, great.
I'm just telling you, you want to hear a smart guy and why he was so successful in hockey. Go listen to that. He's at another level. He's 83 years old. He's still pushing it hard. He's phenomenal. He really is.
Wow. like it. Well, that's on Inside the Game with Pierre. You can check it out. Let me pull up that Twitter for you. It is at Pierre_ITG. So that's where you can find all the clips and the actual full videos. And they got a link to the website as well. So check it out there. Yeah. All right. We will talk to you here on the Eye Test on the Sick Podcast Network tomorrow.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Eye Test with Pierre McGuire and Jimmy Murphy on YouTube, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.